For centuries, Christian men have taken care of the poor and the weak among them. Some of the poorest and some of the weakest live right across our borders, a toss of a rock from some of the wealthiest people in the world to the poorest. A group out of San Diego called Spectrum Ministries has decided to do something about that.
About 20 years ago, 22 years ago, we went and pulled into a nonprofit organization. I'm still one of the pastors here at church, but the organization Spectrum began, and we had only one person working with me, and we worked with the Mexicans. We started then with working with 4 orphanages because we saw the needs, especially of these kids that had no fathers. A bunch of kids with just 2 or 3 people directing them. They have low self-esteem, and we could add to them. We could build them. We could have fun with them. We went down to look for the dump one time and couldn't find the dump. I mean, who writes a book on how to get to the Tijuana dump, you know? I mean, how do you do it? Went home and prayed about it. The Lord sort of said, hey, turkey, you know, follow a trash truck. Never thought of that. So next time we went down, we followed the trash truck and followed it to the dump. We followed very discreetly in back of the fly-filled trash truck. And we found people actually living on the dump, eating garbage. I'd never seen anything like that. I've never seen so many maggots. I'd never smelled the smells that I'd smelled and seen people go into the garbage. We have big days in which we take Americans down every Thursday. Have a big day meeting 500 or 600 Mexican people in a given barrio. We do everything from breaking down bulk produce to little bags to feed the women who come to stand in line for food. We have games for some of the kids, American kids, to play with Mexican kids, little games. We give them clothing. We give showers to the kids that they'll stand in line at 6 in the morning trying to stand in line there, even boys, because they like warm water, clean water, shampoo. And that's what Spectrum basically is all about. We're doing what we can with what we have, with whom we have.
Boy, there's a lot of poor people in the world. Some of them just right across our borders, as we've seen. There's third world countries that are full of poor people. And then there's people that are just poor with friendships, guys that are a little too weird, nobody likes them. You know, we can do something about the people that are poor. Sometimes we can do things for the people that are far away, maybe we'll never see. I know our family, and maybe your family too, we support some kids. This is a couple of the kids that we support. Through Compassion International, we send them some bucks every month, and they get an education, they get food, they get everything taken care of. But not just compassion or giving through our church or something like that. Sometimes we can do things that's real personal, real sacrificial. I want you to hear a story about what one family, actually one father, decided to do on a Sunday morning, the day after Christmas.
As we were backing out of the garage to go to church, I noticed in the grass with the sprinklers on, there was a skateboard and a scooter. They were lying in the grass, basically getting wet. And these had just been brand new toys that had been received a couple days before that. So at that point, I announced to the kids that next year we're going to get presents. We're going to take them down to Mexico because there's kids that actually care about them and that want them and need them a lot more than they do. And of course, the first reaction with the kids was, "You gotta be kidding." And the only reaction I had through the whole year was from my daughter, who was at that point, she would have been like 6. She was distraught probably from February on about, we can't do that, that's not Christmas, and so on and so forth. As we approached that next Christmas, I did stand firm in what I had said. We went into Kmart, took a couple shopping carts, and we amassed copious amounts of toys. If we thought it would be fun to play with, we put it in the basket. So at that point we had a van full of these toys, and my initial plan was to go right across the border into Tijuana, which is just an hour drive for us, and start handing out presents to any kid I saw on the street. And we drove about 30 minutes, and we ended up at Casa de Manuel, which was a boys' home. At that point there was, I think, 14 boys there. We weren't quite sure how to respond once we got there, except we opened the back of the van and started unloading all these toys. We took the toys in there, and it was just amazing. I mean, these kids were so excited, and The next thing I know, our kids were playing with their kids, and we spent a couple hours there. We had lunch, and we had to go back home. And what I hope my kids learn from this experience, there's always somebody that's less fortunate than they are.
There's more than just poor people. There's the walk-bys, the kids that nobody cares about, the geeky kids, or kids who, through no fault of their own, were born into this world, never being able to compete on the same level as the rest of us. What do we do about those kids? The disabled, the kids that are challenged physically or mentally. Well, some high school kids decided that there was something they could do about it. They came to the conclusion that every year at prom time, there were kids who were getting left by. And during the biggest event of the year for them, the winter ball, where all the kids get dressed up and spend bunches of money to go do special things, that these kids would be left out. And they said, what would it be like if we as a group of Christians on campus got together and did a Jesus prom, a winter ball that would be completely unique and completely for the special ed kids? Hear the story.
One of the things particularly big at our school was the winter ball. Going to those things year after year, you notice there's one group of people who's never there and would never have a chance to go. Probably mostly because they would never be invited. And had they showed up, they would have been gawked at like they were at school, and that was those special ed kids. Now word got out that there was going to be a prom for the special ed kids, and as you can imagine, among the students in school, there was a lot of talk and a lot of jokes. It started out with just a core group of Christian guys. As more and more people heard about it, other groups of Christians just came out of the woodwork to want to come and invest in these kids. They saw the need to invest in the lives of these kids who have gone unnoticed. Special ed department teachers didn't know what quite to think about us. They were used to students poking fun at the special ed students. So when they heard the ideas of a special ed prom or special ed winter ball, they thought for sure it was just a setup. We had all the students decorate. The money came out of the students' pockets. The girls who were there, they went and made cookies, brought food. We had a full spread for these guys. And when those students came walking through the door, all of our high school students were there just to applaud. And those guys walked through the door. They realized that day was for them, and their eyes just got huge. You want to have a good time with them, but you don't know exactly how. After a while, you give up trying and you just start having fun. You can see on their faces that none of them were used to this kind of attention, but you can see in their faces that they all welcomed it, they all wanted it, they all loved it. They would dance to the beat of the music. They would, grab one of us and go dancing with us. They were uninhibited just to have a good time. By the end of the time that we had with those kids, those special ed teachers were wondering when we can come back, when can we do it again. They were thanking us for coming in and investing in these students when really I think it should have been us thanking them for giving us the opportunity to basically minister to kids who would never get talked to. It really comes down to others. It comes down to the least of these. The Christian walk isn't about you. It's about others.
It's just simple little gifts like giving water to someone who's thirsty, or feeding somebody hungry, or covering somebody who's cold, or healing somebody who's sick. When you're compassionate, caring, or have mercy in you, it is going to cost something. I mean, it's going to take some part of your heart. I like to be changing people's lives, and I think it takes a man to do this. And I think it takes a man to have the kind of courage that's going to go in and say, I'm going to make a difference. I don't care if the other men like it or not. I don't care if I'm politically correct or not. I'm going to do what the Lord says, and I'm going to follow Him.